Okay, so we're here doing a Modern Friendly League with Tezzerator. We are on the draw. This is round one. And this hand is... it's probably okay. It's not great. More zero drops to turn on the Opal would make it pretty great, but I do like Opal, Citadel, Whir, Sword, so I'm going to try this. Ideally, we'll be able to hopefully get another zero drop so we can whir on turn 3 for the... Oh, looks like we got a free turn. I'm not going to say no to that. So we'll just start with Watergrave tapped. Probably should have played the Opal, just in case of a discard spell, but looks like that's not an issue here. So we do need to make sure we play the blue sources rather than the Citadel to make sure we can whir next turn, but next turn we should be able to play Citadel, turn on Opal to get third blue if we want, or we can just play an island or a delta. We've got options. They're all roughly the same. Okay, so that's going to complicate our word plan ever so slightly. I guess in this case, we'll turn on the Opal and Inquisition, because all we'll be able to do if we want to whir is whir for 1 due to the Thalia, which really only gets us Pithing Needle or Relic, and neither of those are particularly good right now. So, see, yeah, we do not care. Nice thing about this deck is it doesn't care at all about Path to Exile, because they're the only creatures in the main are Thopter Swords, Thopter tokens. Or 5/5s with Tezzerator, but I find that's not usually very relevant in this Path Fatal Push metagame. So I think here we just play a land and aim to whir for 2. The Thalia, should be able to afford that. And get Thopter Foundry, and against this deck, Thopter Sword should seal up the game pretty nicely. They don't really have any main deck ways out of it that I can think of off the top of my head. I guess the only thing here is if we get Aven Mind Censored, might be a thing, but we couldn't really play around that anyway. Don't really need the mana, so I think I'm just going to play this Darksteel or Darkselect Shores, pass turn, make a bunch of tokens. Do have the option to whir for anything in my deck, so I could whir for 4, even with Thalia, so I could get Ensnaring Bridge if it feels a need, but with Thopter Sword online, don't think that's going to be necessary. Yeah, that's not scary whatsoever. Especially not being able to flicker anything really relevant. Flickering a Thalia's, who cares? So I think here best plan is make a bunch of Thopters, kill a bunch of creatures. make 5 Thopters, so I could kill both, which I think is the way to go. Given the inevitability of Thopter Sword, I usually like to just make Thopters and block and kill their guys rather than jump block and have more to attack with. And have to jump block every turn. I'd rather just spend a turn to kill their entire board if I can, and be quite happy with that. I think my opponent might be trying to rack his brain to see if he realizes, if he didn't already know how this interaction works, now that he realizes it, he might be just trying to think of any way, if there's any way out of it. Which, if I know this deck, I don't think there is. Yeah, so I think the main way we lose to this deck is getting slow hand. An early Thalia can cause us issues, since we don't, it makes everything cost more. We did get a little lucky with him skipping his first turn. Especially since we didn't play the Opal, we could have got punished for that because of Thalia. So here I think I'm just going to block the 2-3 on the Thalia, all 4 guys on the Resto. Could pass something to save one of them, but the other one's going to die, and I don't really care about that. Let's see, I had 2 Restos. He's got Resto, Castle, Path. So he could Resto 1, Flicker a guy, Path 1 of my tokens, but, save both of his guys, but that doesn't really... I can't afford that, actually, because of the Thalia. So that's all fine with me. I think he can only save 1 guy here. Block. Alright. So sideboarding here. I think we probably want the Tendrils. Might want the Brutality. Definitely want the Grid, because I'm assuming there's a good chance there's Stony Silences. For the same reason, I like to bring in the Abrupt Decays and Maelstrom Pulse. I do find I bring these in most matchups, because there's usually relevant stuff post-board. Don't think Relics do anything. Pithing Needle, probably not. You might be playing Aether Vial, but don't really think that's necessarily worth keeping the Pithing Needle in. So the question is, Brutalities, Inquisitions, I think I need to cut some number of those. I think I might cut Inquisitions, because I do like the Brutalities. Mostly just removal here, which I think is fine. Kills a lot of their deck. So I think we'll try this. Okay, so this hand looks pretty solid. We'll definitely have to make sure to remember to turn 1 Opal, so we don't get punished by Thalia. It'll also turn on our Spire of Industry to give us black mana or a second color, so we can hopefully either Brutality or Thopter Foundry on turn 2. So I think turn 1 we'll just play a tapped Steam Vents and an Opal, unless we draw something relevant. Okay, Relic is not actually very scary. We have lots of ways to play around it. We don't have the Pithy Needle anymore, which might be something to bring in if we go to game 3. But if we get... there is a way we can play around Relic pretty easily most of the time. That's mildly annoying, but we'll probably just brutality it. Yeah, so I think we're just gonna use these modes. As I was saying, as far as playing around the Relic with extra artifacts, as long as we don't tap out, if we start to do our Thopter Sword combo and he sacks the Relic, we can then, in response, sacrifice another artifact to bring the sword back into play, let the Relic resolve, and then continue our combo. So here we would have to be a little worried about... Normally we'd have to be a little worried about Ghost Quarter, but if he had Ghost Quarter, he would have almost for sure played it over the Caverns, so... What are our options? We can play Spire, so we have the option to Abrupt Decay, so we can either Abrupt Decay this, or we could play a Thopter Foundry. Playing a Thopter Foundry does kind of open us up to, if he does draw a Ghost Quarter, we won't be able to pay for the Arbiter yet. It'll get us a little bit. But I think if he had a Ghost Quarter, he would have played it and probably used it last turn. So I don't think he does. So I think I'm just going to go and jam the Foundry for right now and have the Abrupt Decay for next turn. Because then next turn we can hold up the option of Abrupt Decay or War of Invention for a Thopter, for a Sword of the Meek, I think we'll have enough mana. If he doesn't play Athalia, we'll be able to even get an Ensnaring Bridge if that's relevant, but probably not yet. Okay, it does have Athalia. Yeah, so I guess we couldn't have worried for too much next turn because of the Arbiter. So I think probably what I'll do is just play, unless we draw something, probably just play Island and plan to... I should probably Abrupt... If I'm going to kill the Arbiter, I should do it right away. Because him playing Cavern on Angel makes me think he might have an Angel in hand. So I could play for 3 the Prism, which I guess that actually lets me get 3 counters on it, so that's nice. Or I could Abrupt Decay, because it doesn't really matter. Because if I play Prism first, I'm going to need to use one of those to kill the Thalia. I think I'm going to do that, because I think I actually want to use the Abrupt Decay to kill the Arbiter. Probably the only time I've ever cast Pentad Prism with 3 colors. Usually when I do play against Thalia, I've never had it actually come up. I think this opens up the best options for next turn by turning on our Whir. And we just happen to have 2 mana, so if he does play Ghost Quarter or something, we do have the option. If he plays like a Ghost Quarter and another Arbiter, we've got the option to pay for it. We're also a little lucky he hasn't been activating the relic to eat our graveyard, because if we makes it a little bit harder to combo off if we don't have extra cards. If the sword is the only one, he basically gets 2 shots to eat it by tapping it and then exiling it, so we would need to hold up extra mana with extra artifacts to potentially sack. I think he's got 2 cards. I think we'll just wait. He might Restoration Angel here. Maybe not. I think the plan will be very much like last game. Were for Sword of the Meek. Hopefully he doesn't have an Aven Mind Sensor. He does not. So here is where we can kind of punish him for not eating our graveyard earlier. So he will probably now crack the relic, I'm going to guess. In which case I should have paid with the Prism, because then I could pay for the next activation with the Prism, and then sack it with no counters. Whereas now I'm going to want to sack the Prism to the if he does activate the relic here to bring back the sword, and I'll lose a mana. Or I guess I can float it. Never mind. So I find the real power in this deck is against these creature strategies. The Thopter Sword is just very hard for them to beat. Unless I can disrupt it quickly. A relic is usually, especially in a artifact heavy version like this, the relic is usually not enough. It really needs like a Stony Silence or a Rest in Peace. Those are much more dangerous, and that's why we bring in the Abrupt Decays and the Maelstrom Pulse. So I'm just going to be careful here to probably not going to make any more. So we can hold up mana. Because I don't want to tap out, because if I tap out, then he can eat the sword in response. And I think I just want to hold up, preserve this extra mana for now. Don't need it right away. If he has a path here, that's totally fine. Doesn't really matter. I guess Swamp though. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't activated the relic. But maybe he realized that it's not gonna be good enough. Let's see what we get. We got lots of mana to make lots of Thopters, so there's a good chance even if I draw something, I won't play it. He just got 1 card in hand. Not something I can stop my combo, or else he would have, and we win. So there you go. So that's game 1. Shows its power against the creature-based strategies that don't really have a whole lot of ways to interact with it. So we'll be back for round 2.